okay, I made a terrible decision. I need to figure out what I'm going to do with my life. Maybe I could just do Pilates on the side. I don't know what it was, but was it the best or the absolute worst decision of my life to become a Pilates instructor? Let's talk about it. Now, before we dive into my overall thoughts and opinions as a career in being a Pilates instructor, I'm going to provide you with a little bit of a backstory first on why I feel certain ways about certain things. If you're new to my channel, my name is Aileen. I'm from Miami and I am a certified Pilates instructor. Okay, so I started Pilates, I want to say, I think it's been about 10 years now. It's been a while. I went after work one day and I stumbled across this studio that was nearby my job and I took a Pilates class, and after my first class, I honestly fell in love with it. I became obsessed. I loved Pilates. Now, at the time, I was working at a record label here in Miami in the digital marketing department. Now, I started at this record label when I was in my senior year of college as an intern, and I actually got hired before my senior year ended, which was great because I was able to graduate knowing I can go to work the next day. And starting as an intern, I worked my way all the way up to senior manager over the course of, I want to say, 7.5 years. Now, I was going to Pilates after work. I honestly thought I was just going to be working in digital marketing for the rest of my life and just continuing to either stay at that company or just continuing to grow in that career of digital marketing. Now, once the pandemic hit, a lot of things changed and we were working from home, and digital marketing basically became like, it was already a very demanding job, but even more so, it became very demanding. And I got burnt out, to be honest. It was a big eye-opener in me realizing what I really wanted for my life and if I was feeling fulfilled. And I started questioning a lot of things. Back in college, before I majored in public relations with a minor in music business, I was actually doing pre-physical therapy. So I was planning on becoming a physical therapist. I worked at a physical therapy firm for a couple of years throughout college, and I was really passionate about wanting to help people, and I grew up as an athlete. I loved sports. I still do love sports, and I thought that that was the perfect career for me. But I took chemistry, and then I was like, no, this is not gonna happen because I was not very good at chemistry. Anyways, so that was a very quick change. I took chemistry, realized, okay, maybe science is not the path for me. Switched to PR, and then everything kind of fell into place. So I didn't question it. It was all a very natural flow, and there was really no friction with me finding a job, and it felt like it was meant to be. Now, all this being said, I started throughout the pandemic going back to those thoughts on, did I make the right decision not becoming a physical therapist? So I started researching, oh, maybe I can look into going to physical therapy school, and then I realized how expensive it was and the process that I would have to go through in terms of the prereqs and then going to the 3-year program. So I quickly realized that was not realistic for me. And then I really started thinking, well, I am obsessed with Pilates. Let me look into what it would be like to become an instructor. So that's exactly what I did. I was working full time, and then the studio that I was going to offered a teacher training. So I started with the MAT program first. Now, if you stumbled across this video and you're in the process of becoming a Pilates instructor, or you're thinking about becoming a Pilates instructor, I have a ton of resources and videos on how to become a Pilates instructor, tips on passing the exams, and all that stuff. You can check it out. I won't dive into that into this video, but I did start with the MAT program first. I fell even more in love with it, and then I started the full comprehensive training. It was a 500-hour program, and at the end of that program, the studio that I did the teacher training at offered me a full-time position. Now, at the time, I was very, very, very burnt out with my job, and it felt like the light at the end of a tunnel when I got offered this position. And naturally, looking at my life, I decided it was time for a change. In November of 2021, I made the leap and I left my full-time corporate job with full-on benefits and stability and continuous flow of income to become a Pilates instructor. Now, here's where things get a little sticky. 2020 is interesting. Looking back at this, it's funny to look back at. I thought I I had my dream career. I was leaving something that I was burnt out in to do something that I was so obsessed with. I loved Pilates. Like, I would live, breathe, and eat it. But I will say that within, I want to say, the first 6 months of me making this change, I was not happy. I couldn't figure it out, but I just wasn't happy. I would dread going to the studio. I was not happy seeing clients. I was just disliking my life. And so much so that within those 6 months, it made me question and it made me think, well, maybe I need to go back to corporate America and maybe I need to get a full-time job again. And so much so that I actually started conversations with certain companies and I went through some interviews, and I was serious about going back because I was like, okay, I made a terrible decision. I need to figure out what I'm going to do with my life. Maybe I could just do Pilates on the side. I don't know what it was, but now looking back, I realized I was just in the wrong environment. And nothing against the studio that I did my teacher training in, because I learned so much from them. But sometimes things just don't fit, and I realized I was just in the wrong environment for me to really flourish as a Pilates instructor. While I was going through some conversations with some companies and even considering going back to the record label that I was working at, I realized I just needed to leave the studio that I was at. So I kind of left that studio thinking I was going to go back into a corporate job, but really having no plan because I didn't accept any offers. I was still in conversations, but I decided, one way or another, I realized I just needed to leave the studio and then figure things out, which very risky, but it's a leap that I took, and I was really just following my gut. I am very intuitive with how things flow in life, and I was just listening to my gut and what it was telling me, and it was telling me that it was just time to part ways with this studio. So within the following months of leaving that studio, I was really able to figure myself out and what I wanted. And it was honestly the best thing that could have happened and led me to the point where I am today. So going back to having a passion for sports and growing up as an athlete, I started realizing that I really wanted to help athletes really feel good in their bodies. And Pilates was a great way to achieve that. So I had a lot of ideas trickling in my mind, and I realized I'm gonna start an online Pilates business. So that's exactly what I did. It's called Pilates on the Green, and it was created with the intention to just help athletes enhance their overall lifestyle, whether it's with golf or with running or even with strength training, just making sure that the body is healthy and prepared for their athletic activities. It's not easy starting a business, but I was so passionate about this idea. I really started getting excited again about Pilates. So I started filming classes from home and started building out the business, which was all so exciting for me. I was like, feels like a light and a fire was back inside of me with the Pilates world, which I was happy about. I was like, okay, maybe I shouldn't go back to corporate America. Maybe I should try and stake out this idea and see how it works. I decided not to go back into a fluffy, full-time, stable job to try and pursue this idea. And at the time, I started taking classes again at other studios, and I was just happy. I was practicing Pilates again. I was teaching Pilates, and I was finding a good flow. So one of the studios that I would take classes at ended up offering me a position at the studio to teach private clients and group classes, and it was such a nice environment, and I still am at the studio today, and I love it. This happened, I want to say, in June of the same year that I left the studio. So I left that studio, I think, in about March or April, and then in June or July is when I started with this new studio. So in that gap between April and, let's say, July is where I was kind of unemployed and just figuring things out. Yeah, July is when I started with that studio. Honestly, such a great environment, amazing clients, just a really nice, humble space where I could really grow as a Pilates instructor. And being a part of this studio made me realize that one of the things that I guess was not part of what I expected as being a Pilates instructor in the first studio that I did my teacher training and that I was at is that they had a non-compete. So you basically could not teach anywhere else. You couldn't see clients out of that studio within a certain mile radius. And I think it made me feel a little restricted in the sense that, okay, I had these ideas in the back of my mind and I had friends and family that I wanted to teach, but I was not able to unless it was within the space of that studio. I think having now no non-compete where I can have my own ideas and my own clients, but then also be a part of this wonderful community and space within this Pilates studio was really important for me. Now, that not be the case for everyone, but looking back, it's just, I can see the difference now, and this is the right fit for me. Okay, so now let's get into whether I think Pilates is a sustainable career and if it's worth it or not. So all aspects of my career right now are Pilates based. I do social media for Pilates. I run my online business. I film Pilates classes for my online business. I see privates. I go into the studio. I see clients there. And then I also teach one group class a week. My overall lifestyle right now, everything work related, is Pilates related. And I could not be happier, to be honest. It is so fulfilling. And I mean that with like every bone in my body, every part of my job, I am just so happy and fulfilled about. There is something about making a positive impact on someone's day and really helping someone feel good in their bodies that is undescribable. Now, there's so much more that I want to do with my career and with Pilates on the Green in the future, but I'm just so happy with where I'm at the moment, and things take time, and I understand that. But at this point, I'm growing the business, I'm teaching clients in person, and I'm just really happy. And I think that's the reason why you clicked on this video is it worth it becoming a Pilates instructor? My answer is yes, but I will say that everyone has their own story. So you need to figure out why you want to become a Pilates instructor first, if you're looking to become one, and figure out what brings you joy. Because at the end of the day, everyone is different. Just because this is a career that works for me does not mean that it's going to work for you. Everyone has different things that motivate them, that make them feel happy and fulfilled. And figuring yourself out first and figuring out what you want first is going to help you determine on if this is the right career for you. Now, there are so many pros and cons when it comes to teaching Pilates, and I'm actually going to do a whole nother video on that in terms of the schedule, the pay, the lifestyle, all of that. So be sure to subscribe to see when that video gets uploaded. It will be soon. But I will say that being a Pilates instructor, I do really believe that any of the possible cons, the negatives of the career, are completely outweighed by all of the pros and all of the amazing things that come with being a Pilates instructor. It's not all, I don't know what I'm trying to say, but it's not all nice and fluffy. It's also not an easy career. It's very demanding in the sense where you are exerting a lot of energy to really try and help your clients truly understand the exercises. There's a lot of cueing, verbal, tactile. You're walking around a lot, and you're not doing the exercises all day unless you're maybe demonstrating and teaching a mat class. But when you're in the studio, it's just a lot of attention to detail. And when I leave the studio, I'm honestly exhausted. It's tiring, but I cannot imagine myself doing anything else at the moment. At this point in my life, I honestly see myself being a Pilates instructor for the rest of my life. I am constantly looking for continuing education. Whenever I have free time, I'm either practicing Pilates on my own or I'm learning more things that I can use and add to my toolbox as a Pilates instructor. So I truly now eat, live, and breathe Pilates, and I would not have it any other way. I am more obsessed now, if it's somehow possible, than I was when I originally discovered Pilates. It's a beautiful, beautiful thing. And all the struggles that I went through to now get to this point just goes to show that everyone has their own journey. And if you need to figure out whatever you're going through in life to figure out if it's worth it becoming a Pilates instructor, all I have to say is just trust the process. Everything happens for a reason, as cliche as it sounds, but there is a reason why it all happens. And if I wouldn't have gone through everything that I went through, I don't think I would appreciate what I have now as much as I do, because I've seen the difference and I know what it's like working in corporate America, what it's like working at a studio that's not the right fit for me, and what it's like having everything that I could have ever dreamed of. And you need to have all these different versions to be able to see what you truly have and really appreciate it. Now, I hope you found this video helpful, even in the slightest way, and if you did, I hope that you give this video a thumbs up and that you subscribe to my channel. Again, I have a bunch of Pilates resources that you can check out if you are in the Pilates industry or you're looking to tap into the Pilates industry. I'm here to help, so let me know if you have any questions that I can help answer. And if you are watching this video and you're looking to practice Pilates with me, you can join my online studio, Pilates on the Green. It's linked in the description below. Your first 7 days are completely free. Thank you so much for taking your time to watch this video, and again, I hope you found it helpful, and I will see you next time. Bye!